This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty, we are back. Manny Navarro is ready to go. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Feeling as good as I can. I'm getting ready to. I'm actually driving to the airport right now to get ready to take off and go to Atlanta.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cam is. We just got off with Cam. He's in Charlotte. His flight was delayed because the storm is going right through there now. But at least the storm had already gone through, so your flight shouldn't be delayed or anything like that. You should be all right, which is good. Now the Canes coaching staff not all right, huh? Apparently, a quarterback has decommitted, so the first crack of the class has happened.
It appears so. I mean, we knew that eventually there were going to be some decommitments, right? I mean, you lose four straight games at home, you get blown out 45-3. It's probably inevitable that you're going to have some guys that jump ship. But I've had some conversations this morning with different people, and I think the feeling is they still feel they've got a very good quarterback. Who's a part of this class, the 3-star kid out of Milton, Florida, who's been committed just about as long as Jaden has. And I know he's getting recruited by Florida State and a couple of other programs, but Miami feels very good about him. And, it's going to happen. And I think part of this, too, is one thing people have to realize throughout this entire process is, and we talk about it all the time. You and I, you have me on when all these kids commit in the springtime and the summertime, and we talk about it then. It's a marathon, but then the last 6 weeks in November leading into December, that's the sprint. That's what really matters, right? And I think for Miami, the most important thing to them is that the rest of this class stays intact. They have some other needs, offensive line, for instance, defensive line, cornerback. They feel good about the kids that they have in that group, and I think ultimately, the quarterback position is going to sort itself out. The transfer portal is an option; it's always an option, and sometimes, it kind of dictates what you do as far as high school recruiting. If you can get a good starting quarterback, a guy that's a quality player somewhere else who wants to leave that school and come to your school, I think you entertain that thought. But at the same time, I think. The guys that are here have been struggling, right? I mean, it's not like they're doing a great job. So it'll sort itself out. But here's what I'll tell everybody. Like, you want to get excited about the recruiting rankings? Keep doing that. Go ahead. I know that makes your day. What matters in the end is do these guys become anything when they get here? And that's how we're going to judge Mario.
Right, exactly. And before I get to that part there, because I do want to something I talked about earlier before you came on. First of all, with the quarterback, because we were talking about this, and Sean was pointing out how he thanked Gaddis first. And then Sean thinks that maybe the kid's seeing that Gaddis is not doing a good job with this offense, and the offense doesn't look good, and that maybe Gaddis is not going to be here next year. And maybe that's why he's like, yeah, Gaddis, the guy recruiting me, he's probably not going to be there next year. I'm out of here. Or it's what I think. I think the kid sees that, it's what I talked about earlier, and it'll segue into what I was going to ask you. Overall, this coaching staff has to view it and say we've done a shitty job of getting the max out of these guys.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of kids must be seeing that, and I'm just wondering if that's what that kid saw and said they're not getting the max out of these guys. I'm afraid of going there. Maybe Josh is a nice man, but I'm not happy with the way he's running that offense, and I'm the quarterback. So I don't know if I want to go there. So is it more about the kid worried that Josh Gaddis isn't going to be here, or is it more about that the kid isn't very attracted to what's going on with Gaddis and his offense at the University of Miami?
I think it's a combination of things, though, to be honest. I think if you look at, the situation of Florida, first of all, he was very enamored with Florida. Like, people forget, Miami basically stole him from the Gators, right? I mean, he had gone to take a visit there on June 7th. I was in Las Vegas when the kid was playing in a 7-on-7 tournament right after his visit to Florida. And the feeling was, well, yeah, the Canes want him, but the kid wants to go play in the SEC for Florida. And, NIL happens, things happen, conversations happen. And the kid wanted to change his mind and said he wanted to come to Miami. So to me, I think this is much more about where did the kid really want to go from all along, right? Where did his heart tell him to go? How much did NIL interfere per se? And then, the last aspect is you look at this offense and you look at the quarterbacks and the struggles, right? You say, well, Anthony Richardson is going to be leaving after this year, supposedly, right? He's going to be going to the NFL. I can go in there and start. Who knows what Miami's going to do? Maybe Mario fires the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator wants a different kid to play quarterback, and I wasn't recruited by that guy. So all of those things play a factor, all of it.
Yeah. No, it's just, and that's the thing. And I think for Mario and his staff, this is going to be a bad look for them because they have not maximized this talent. And, it's kind of like what Michelle said in her article that Manny Diaz was doing a better job with these guys. And that's,
well, they were Manny's players. They were Manny's guys. Like that's exactly the whole aspect of all of this is if you don't recruit the kid, if the roster's not yours and you inherit, like Manny Diaz struggled and he was on the staff his first year, right? I mean, he was the defensive coordinator. But what was his problem? He didn't know anything about the offense. The offensive players didn't want to play for him. It wasn't until De'Aaron King and Lashley got there that they got things right. It took them a year to figure. I mean, they were horrible in Manny Diaz's first year. They were 6-7, and got shut out 14-0 by Louisiana Tech. So I think a lot of this today, unfortunately, in college football, it's predicated on how many of the kids want to play for you. How many of them did you recruit? Like everybody says, well, what about USC? Well, go look at that roster. His starting quarterback is the same guy he had at Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah, he brought him with him. Yeah,
he brought him with him. Like there's that helps. I mean, that helps solve a lot of problems, dude.
Well, no, it not only helps, but Lincoln Riley.
Well, I mean, he's an offensive mastermind.
I don't give a shit what award Gaddis won last year. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, I got you.
Let's not even compare Lincoln Riley's offensive mind and talent to find quarterbacks because that's what he does compared to Josh Gaddis. Josh Gaddis is a nursery child next to Lincoln Riley offensively. Seriously, let's just call it like we see it. One guy just recruits Heisman Trophy winners, and the other guy maybe has guys that can polish the trophy. That's about it.
Absolutely. And I'll say this: Bruce Feldman had a great article this week. We talk about Josh Gaddis. He had a fabulous article on the guy who's really helped Jim Harbaugh fix Michigan, because Michigan, everybody forgets, Michigan was in pretty bad shape, right?
Yeah, man.
And in that article, there's a lot of Josh Gaddis and a lot about how basically the coaching staff didn't want him to be in charge last year of the offense. And there was a lot of sort of infighting and, guys that weren't on the same page. And ultimately, if it wasn't for some of the other people intervening, Michigan wouldn't have got its act together. And ultimately, Gaddis left, it seems like, when you read that article in large part, because he didn't have a lot of support. Now he comes here, he's got an entirely new staff he needs to win over, an entirely new group of players that he hasn't worked with. He was on that Michigan staff for 3 years, by the way, before he really, was in charge of that offense. And so, you inherit, basically that's the guy Miami got, a guy who was having troubles at Michigan while he won the Broyles Award with the staff. And so all of those things, I mean, it's never easy to come into a situation, and find the right chemistry. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work. The good thing for Miami, and I wrote a huge article today in The Athletic about why there's been 19 years of mediocrity with this program and what they have to do to fix it. The good thing is that Mario signed into a 10-year deal, and now you're finally going to have some effing stability. I mean, Mario, I've been told this by different people. I don't think the earliest he gets fired from this job, assuming this turns into a disaster, is year 6 or year 7. So he's going to have time.
They're not going to swallow all that money for sure.
But
by 6 or 7, buddy, if you're not winning, he's going to want to leave.
Exactly.
Because they will fry his ass everywhere he goes. In fact, before you came on, bro, year 3 has to be the year. Year 3 has to be the year that you're breaking out and that you're like turning into a hell of a program into years 4 and 5. Next year, you better get rid of all those kids that you don't want to coach, bring in extra kids now, do whatever you got to do, And then in year 3, that next round, and you better be challenging for the
Right.
ACC title in year 3. Put it that way. Not winning it, but you better be challenging it. And by years 4 and 5, you better be right up there with Clemson. If you're not, then you're not doing the job, because you have every resource possible, and you've got a guy that is spending boatloads of money for you on the NIL side to help your ass out. And if you can't identify the right coaches, which it looks like you failed with Gaddis, well, you're going to have to make a change quickly. Just like, hey, look, Chris Greer. Chris Greer's done a terrific job. Did he screw up with Flores? Yeah. Now you gave him a chance to corrected it, and he corrected it. Now, guess what? Maybe Mario may have to do what Chris Greer did. I like my staff, except this guy here, I made a bad decision, and you better go find your Rhett Lashley. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't, because you're watching Rhett Lashley put up 70 points last weekend, and you put up 3. What the hell is that, dude?
Yeah. And let's not forget, I'm not making excuses for them, but there have been a boatload of injuries on the offensive line, and
I get it.
and all of that is obviously sped into this. So are the players as bad as they've shown? No, they shouldn't have lost to Duke. They shouldn't have lost to Middle Tennessee State. But look, all of these issues have sort of compounded themselves. It's been a disastrous year. But do I still have faith that Mario Cristobal is going to figure it out? And am I still confident the University of Miami is going to back him and give him the money and resources he needs? Yes.
I agree.
And that's something that none of the other coaches before him had. Maybe Manny Diaz would have been a success had he been given all those resources. Who knows?
Maybe.
We'll never know. Maybe Mark Richt would have been more successful if he wasn't getting ill at the end of his career. We don't know.
That's the thing. Yeah, Mark had the health issues already at that point, and so that was already kind of taking over the poor man.
Right. But my point is just that, look, he's got a much better situation and background to work with. That's why I feel more confident he's going to get things right, because it's just those are things that you need in college football today. And I'll say this. I think I need to make this point. I think one thing that they're doing here, and again, I told you this a while back when Mario first got here, he needs time to learn these players. He needs time to sort of get a feel for recruiting back here in Florida and in this area. I think you're going to probably see a couple more decommitments, maybe from guys that they don't really like, that the more time that they've spent talking to them, the more time they've gotten to know them, that they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should go to another team. And I think that's certainly going to happen with this roster. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that they say, hey, you know what? You really aren't a fit here. Why don't you? And I think they may even help some of these guys finding other places to go. Because they want to change the culture. That's the number one priority right now, is changing the culture. And I think you can recruit all the talent in the world, but if you don't have a good culture, if there's not a good, sort of center, then you're going to fail in a lot of places. And I think that's ultimately what they're trying to do right now.
By the way, is Zion really an excuse when you're really never healthy?
No, I mean, look, he really never got.
You were telling, hey, there's a whole bunch of injuries on the offensive line. The first thing that came to my mind was like, Zion's a sack of injuries. So like, you can never count on that guy.
The last 2 years have been rough. The first 2 years he was fine. He played a whole lot. But but you know what that is? That's a guy who was naturally 240 pounds, right? And now he's got to play at 320. And what happens to your muscles and your bones when you put on 80 pounds in 2 years?
Right.
You're going to break down. And that's the problem. That's why you got to recruit guys. Zion was a guy who was headed to Appalachian State, okay, when Miami got him. That's why you got to recruit guys with the big frames and the big bodies you don't have to put 80 pounds on to make a player.
Right. They're already 300 pounders when you get them. I got you. I'm with you there.
Right.
All right. What are you working on?
And that's like a Nez Cooper.
Right. Exactly. By the way, I'm expecting them to lose tomorrow. I hate to say that, but I'm expecting them to lose. I really don't think they'll win.
I am as well. I am as well. I think Jakari Brown is starting tomorrow. Jakari Brown.
Good.
He'll be starting for Miami. From my understanding. And, we'll see what he can do. I'm excited. Give the kid a chance these last 3 games to run the offense. and let's see what he does. I mean, he's got some weapons. I mean, there's guys. I mean, he's got Will Mallory, who's a pretty good tight end. He's got Don Chaney Jr. might be coming back for the last 2 games. You still have Henry Parrish. You got some other guy. Colby Young could go get the ball. So let's see what he does. You know, and look, Georgia Tech's not a group of world beaters, so you have a chance to win the game. Let's just see what he does.
Let's hope Jake Garcia is transferring to Mississippi Valley State in the offseason. All right, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Catch his work there at The Athletic. Better yet, subscribe to The Athletic and support
Ton of
Manny.
good stuff.
Yes, plenty of good reading locally and nationally too at The Athletic. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will talk post-game tomorrow.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you. That is Manny Navarro and our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.